It's the final World Champions Trophy Daily brought to you by McInnes Whiskey. More about how you can get 20% off your investments with them later on, and all the information you need is in the show notes. I'm Daniel Norcross. I've got Fidel Fernando alongside me. And as usual, I'm going to ask you somehow to sum up this game between Pakistan and Bangladesh in 30 seconds.
I wish I'd brought my diving gear. I didn't bring any fins. I didn't bring my snorkel. My scuba gear is at home. It would probably. I'm only into two sports in the world, cricket and diving. Today was a better day for the other one. So yeah, that's about as much as I can say about this. It was just from the moment we woke up. I mean, from yesterday, we knew that this was going to happen, or the likeliest it was going to happen, and probably the hardest it's rained all week was today. So.
Yep, we knew this 2 days ago. Everybody knew this 2 days ago. Everybody knew this 3 days ago. Quite remarkably, actually, in my weather app, it told me that it was going to rain on these 3 days. And that was 3 weeks ago when I checked the weather for Rawalpindi. And I assumed that they were just like throwing it in there because they have to average out the weather. But no, it's horrible. And it means that Pakistan and Bangladesh will not get out onto the field to play. Pakistan are going to play one game in their home Champions Trophy at home, which is kind of nutso, isn't it? One game in Dubai, obviously, the loss in Karachi, and no play here. In a way, Fidel, probably a relief, maybe for the Pakistan players, not so much for the Bangladesh players. I think who would have quite liked the opportunity to bloody a nose or two.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so the whole tournament, as you mentioned, the way it's gone down for Pakistan is incredibly depressing for them. Today, there were some fans who had come into the stands and were chanting Babar's name. That's about as much fun as they have had right through the course of the tournament. Yeah, maybe Pakistan, all they needed to do, given the kind of scathing opinions that are floating around. Certainly Rawalpindi and Islamabad, which I've been hearing over the last few days, maybe the best thing for them to happen, as you mentioned, might be just to get out of the tournament and, go and lick their wounds somewhere.
Well, look, I'm wearing my raincoat and I'm wearing my cravat, I'm wearing my jumper, I'm wearing my shirt. So on that basis, it's cold and it's miserable. And let's not talk about Pindi anymore. It's dead to me. It's probably dead to you. I mean, you'll get a Lahore where it's likely to rain tomorrow anyway. But let's not dwell on these negatives. Let's instead dwell on Pakistan and their tournament, and I guess a little bit on Bangladesh since it's now over. They'll both pick up just the 1 point.
Yeah.
It'll be thoroughly disappointing for both sides, but especially for Pakistan. Are we going to get an inquest? Are we going to get a classic Pakistan inquest in which everybody has to be fired, a totally new set of players has to come in, none of whom have got any experience of playing 50 over cricket at international level, and then it'll just get worse? Or, what's your sense?
I don't know. This kind of PCB is as perhaps even more chaotic than previous boards that have come before it. So, I wouldn't put it past them. Aqib Javed, the Pakistan white ball coach, yesterday made the point that, okay, so, everybody's annoyed at how much this team is losing. But what happens if you get rid of this team? Then they're already one of the least experienced teams in the competition. If you get rid of these experienced players, then who are you planning to bring in exactly? So
well, who are they? I mean, have you got any ideas on that?
About who's going to come in or who could come in?
What could make the team better? We're going to have. I'm going to ask you a similar question in a moment about England, but is it just possible that these are the best 8 teams in the world, and Pakistan just aren't one of the best 4 teams in the world?
I mean, no, I think that there's an interesting point to be made here. I mean, Pakistan were always going to play this competition. Obviously, they're the hosts. There was never a doubt of them not being part of the competition. But it's an interesting one for the ICC to think about, because the qualification for this happened a year and a half ago, 2023 World Cup. West Indies didn't even get a chance to qualify because they were already out of the World Cup. So by virtue of them not qualifying for the ODI World Cup, they also didn't qualify for the Champions Trophy, which seems a little bit unfair because you're judging them on form of 3 years or almost 2.5 years ago rather than on more recent form. So perhaps the ICC can think about having a qualification process for tournaments like this where the 8 teams are picked on more recent form rather than form that's outdated. Everybody agreed
But
to
the
it.
hosts are the hosts,
The
aren't
hosts
they?
are the hosts. Yeah, the Pakistan we're never not going to play this tournament. Although the way that they've been hosting it, or they've been allowed to host it. The who knows what'll happen in future.
But okay, so let me get
Yeah.
down to brass tacks. I mean, is it a confidence issue? Is it players have got an awful lot of expectation on them because there's a whole load of people who really want them to do well? Is it the weight of history? Is it all those things? Or is it just put really simply, we look at the way 50 over cricket is going at the moment, and the sides which have got experienced cricketers who can adapt their games from the test arena and 20 over arena, where they play a lot more cricket, into a format of the game which they don't play a lot of. You look at New Zealand, they've got a lot of older guys. They've got your Lathams, your Williamsons, your pluralizations of your everythings, your Phillipses. They're quite an experienced side, Bracewell, etc. And so these guys are showing how they're able to adapt from 20 over cricket into 50 over cricket. And is it that, I mean, you have to say Pakistan have got some pretty experienced players.
Yes. Yeah.
So it doesn't seem to be that's the problem with them. Are they just really just not up to muster? I mean, or is it the way they're being set up, or is it pressure? Because a lot of people talk about pressure in this part of the world. You get massive overreactions to failure.
Yeah.
What is it?
So, I mean, just to remind everyone, Pakistan have only lost 2 matches. It's just that they were so insipid in them. That was the kind of, the way they lost was what has prompted a lot of kind of criticism of them.
Keening, wailing,
yeah, yeah. The one thing that I kind of sympathize with them a little bit about is Fakhar Zaman, one of their most aggressive batters, and then also Saim Ayub didn't even get a chance to be in. Saim Ayub, who was very good against South Africa in in December, busted an ankle, wasn't available for this tournament. So you've got basically your 2 most aggressive batters being out. Babar Azam is going through the worst phase of his career that we've seen so far. And just completely low on confidence. I don't think it's a technical thing. I think it might be a confidence thing. It might be a mindset thing, but he's just looking a shadow of what he was. Rauf, Shaheen, and Naseem, we didn't see the best of them by a distance. And then they were relying a lot on Abrar for bowling, for spin bowling, and he's a decent bowler, but he can't do the job of the job that's required of 3 spinners essentially, when Salman Aga and Kushdil Shah aren't themselves particularly good spin bowlers. They're being expected to do jobs that they're not qualified to do.
Are you saying that ironically Abrar got no support?
I think Abrar didn't have. If he had a bad over, there was that was much worse for Pakistan than it would be for other teams, who have better supporting spinners.
Very briefly, I want to talk about Bangladesh, but because I'm going to make it brief, because I don't really like talking about Bangladesh, because I just get tired of talking about Mahmudullah being in the team again. I don't know where the youngsters are. I love Nahid Rana. I love watching him when I get the opportunity.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I was looking forward to today. They do have some exciting younger players.
Yeah,
I think they are still kind of stuck in a bit of a rut, aren't they?
I mean, I think there's hope for their fast bowling as well. I mean, they did. Let's not forget that at this venue that we're sitting at, they won a test match last year. So there is something about that fast bowling group. I'm not sure if this has been said, but apparently they've been using the Duke's ball in first class cricket for the last 3 years, specifically because they want to encourage fast bowlers coming through, and it seems to be working. They have
Nahid Rana's rapid.
Yeah, Nahid Rana is just one, but there are several other. I mean, if you look through that seam bowling group, Tuskin has been good. He's had a kind of rejuvenation in his career. Mustafizur offers that variety. Tanzim Hassan is also a very, very decent bowler. So that's about as good a seam attack as I've ever seen from Bangladesh in a major tournament. So things, yes, we just haven't seen the best of them. This is a very short, sharp tournament, and if you don't get going, you can just get exposed, and then one match gets rained out, and it looks like you've had a absolutely abysmal, Champions Trophy. But maintain some perspective. It's a very, very small sample size, basically, is what I'm saying.
So what this means for the group is nothing, because it's a dead rubber already. Just so as to wrap it all up, India are going to play New Zealand in Dubai. That'll determine who finishes top of the table. It doesn't determine anything about where they play, because India are going to play the semi-final in Dubai. New Zealand will play in Lahore. We just don't know against whom they're going to play. So we're going to have a quick handbrake turn, go into the other group, because since we're talking about abject failure and Pakistan and Bangladesh, let's head straight to England, where abject failure was confirmed yesterday when they were defeated by Afghanistan on an absolutely stonking pitch at Lahore. They got their wish. They got to bat second. The dew came down. It did make life a little bit difficult for Afghanistan's spinners. England got themselves into winning positions on 3 occasions. It was spoken about on yesterday's final word. I don't want to go into the details of that. I just want to, like Jos Buttler, and comments after the game. Is this the last we're seeing of Jos Buttler as captain? And is it the last we'll see him in an England shirt? Or do you think he might do a Joe Root? If he does relinquish the captaincy, will he do a Joe Root in Test cricket and come back into the ranks?
I mean, I don't understand. He's still, you've got the body of work that Jos Buttler has. You've got the history that he has, and you know what he's capable. Yes, he's had a little bit of a rough patch, but I would be shocked if we've seen the last of him at all in white ball cricket in ODI format, because I'm certain that he's got much more to contribute. Because it's not as if he's had an extended bad run. They're okay. What I do wonder though is, have we seen the end of that kind of the white ball dominance era of there was a World Cup, an ODI World Cup, and a T20 World Cup that England won. But are we now past that era?
I thought we were past that era in the 2023 World Cup in India, frankly.
But that's because you're English and your default setting is pessimism. But
it's not just that. I mean, it's the setup. England's setup. They don't have a bowler who can guarantee them 10 overs that bats in the top 7. I mean, Liam Livingstone is batting at 7, and you wouldn't necessarily want him to bowl 10 overs. And you compare that with the likes of New Zealand, who have a few bowlers who could do that. Actually, they've got an extra Rachin Ravindra that we haven't even seen, but with Bracewell, with Phillips, for example. India have got 3 guys who could easily bat at the top 7, who can all give you 10 overs. England don't have that. They've got a lot of very inexperienced players. And, England are being encouraged to go, well, look at Jacob Bethell. He's going to be the future. And Bryden Cars, they hadn't played for England in any meaningful way. Bryden Cars had done in that 3rd string series back in the COVID era. But this was his first winter. It was Jacob Bethell's first winter as well in the England setup. So actually they're a side that's got an awful lot of rebuilding to do. Mm-hmm. They look a long way off the pace, and that's not just me being English. That's just a fact.
I mean, I defer to your expertise. I think you made a very good case there. I don't know. I haven't really watched a lot of England, but I did notice that when Mark Wood went off, exactly what you mentioned, there's just not enough cover in that kind of top 7 in terms of bowlers that England can play around with and come up with a good plan B. If their plan A fails, and Najibullah Ibrahim Zadran was
great knock, wasn't it?
Yeah, was perfectly placed to take advantage of all of that like kind of lack of resources. So, which he did beautifully. By the way, I think Ibrahim Zadran is absolutely the batter that Afghanistan has been crying out for years. Just on another level in the last couple of years. Played a couple of incredible innings in Sri Lanka. Just very consistent. Lovely to see him, have probably the best innings of the tournament so far.
And if I may say so, redemption for his first knock when he did rather run away from a straight ball from Kagiso Rabada. You would never have known that they were the same batter. He's now got the highest score in Champions Trophy history. He's gone past Ben Duckett's 165. England have really got nothing to show for this. But my last question on England, though, is a lot of people in England are very vexed by the way they behave. And, Australians love it. Australians will always love it when England lose, but now everybody kind of loves it when England lose because they make grandiose statements about entertainment and this kind of that and this and that. You have a slightly different view on that, don't you? You actually seem to think that they're quite a likeable side.
Yeah, I mean, I think this particular England side is a little bit, you look through that list, there's no one there that you kind of want to root against, really. I think they all seem like, there's no one there that irks me. If I look up and down that England 11, I think they're just a regular cricket team. I mean, I think the history is what makes people root against England, and perhaps the kind of overblown hype that seems to surround them sometimes. But that's got not much to do with the 11 players. That's kind of the system around them, and also what's gone before historically, which again they personally cannot be blamed for. So yeah, I don't think it's an issue with the team. It's just people like watching England lose. It has been the case, particularly in this part of the world, for many, many years. In the West Indies, they have loved. We all know the historical reasons for that. But in terms of players, I don't have strong feelings against them. I think they seem like a nice, decent bunch.
We found the person who loves the England team. And they're great. It's absolutely marvellous. Very quickly, just to wrap up on all of that, for Afghanistan, they're right back in it. If they beat Australia in their last game, which is a fixture they very nearly won in the World Cup, were it not for Glenn Maxwell's remarkable double 100 on one leg, they will go through to the semi-finals. That's a really exciting one. Let's hope it doesn't rain in Lahore. We'll have a team there for you to give you all the news of that. For England, they've got to go rather forlornly play against South Africa, which could still be a really important game for South Africa. So they'll have something to play for. Be interested to see if England mess with their side, change it around, give Rehan Ahmed a go. Who knows? Anyway, that's it. That's it from this part of the show. It's now time for us to take a little break where you're going to hear a little bit about our pals at CBUS Super. And then we're going to be back with the Hall of Fame. Right, we're back. It's Hall of Fame time in association with McInnes Whiskey. They specialise in sourcing branded single malt Scotch whiskey casks for investment. You buy a cask, entry price around £3,600, maybe club together, get a bunch of friends to do it. Then you buy the cask, it matures, it becomes beautiful, and then it earns more money. And you don't pay any tax on that money because it's a wasting asset. That basically means it's not supposed to get better, but it does, because that's what single malt does. The Ferrari of Scotch whiskey. Go to the checkout at mckinneswhiskey.com and put in ICC Whiskey Cricket 20 at the checkout. All the details you need are in the show notes. Hall of Fame for me, they took the covers off. And we thought, hello. And I think it was 5 minutes later, they put them all back on again. I mean, is that Hall of Fame worthy? Can you beat that?
No. My entry to the stadium today was very smooth, actually. So I even don't have a story. Yes,
chicken nugget? Do you have a chicken nugget, perhaps?
Chicken nuggets?
Yeah, there was a chicken nugget knocking about in the well, to eat, the food.
Okay.
Which was very nice. Yeah.
Oh, the food, yeah. The Pindi press box. Yeah, I haven't stopped eating since I got here.
Chinese.
That can be the Pindi food and the Islamabad food. 10 out of 10. No notes.
Oh, and I'll tell you what. Yeah. It was so dark they had to shine the lights on the TV guys who were explaining that the prospects for play were pretty low, and it was as dark as I've ever seen at 1:30 in the afternoon. Anyway, that's it. That's Hall of Fame. I mean, what do you expect, right? There was no play again. I've come to Pindi. It's like going to Bristol in 2019. It's just rained and rained and rained. I feel for Pindi. I feel for our listeners having to listen to this bilge. Well, not from you so much, but as from me. We're going to go. Final word. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's hope it doesn't rain in Lahore. We're getting close to the big games in the tournament. Semi-finals are upon us. Thank you to McInnes Whiskey. Thank you to all of you who watch, listen, and do what you do. But for now, from Vince, from me, goodbye.